So is there anything that you're skeptical of in this space right now? Like certain things I hear, or I'm like, for instance, DAOs. DAOs are decentralized, autonomous organizations. That's something I hear about, and I'm like, will that actually stick around for the long term? Only because I think about how people stay incentivized to be within a community, to contribute. For instance, have you heard of City DAO, where people bought land in Montana? They all came together and they purchased land in Montana. And you get into the Discord channel, which I'm in, because I was like, what's happening here? You can tell people like, what do we do with this? We have this land that we all own now. Now what? And I don't see too much interactions. And then you think about, you hear the top hedge fund advisors, executives, and kind of saying like, it's not always equal votes, or like the best investments always came from the one person who had the idea. It was never about being unanimous. It was never about contributing equally. It was always letting individuals kind of sometimes take the lead. So I kind of question things like DAOs, because I'm like, well, based off all human history, it seems like that hasn't really worked that well. And it seems like it's really hard to keep a community that's pretty decentralized actually engaged at the same time. And like, how do you gamify it? So that's just one thought of mine. But yeah, I want to hear from you. Like, are there any things that you're kind of skeptical about? Like, is this going to be enduring for many years to come?
There's two things that come to mind with that. One is a lot of the NFT market right now is speculation driven. And I think that has to go away, because I think that, any market that's dominated by speculators is not a real market. That's basically the definition of a bubble, right? If more people are just buying it based on where they think the price will go, then they are buying it based on the genuine value that they're deriving from it. And, you see that with housing, right? Obviously back in 2007, 2008, it impacted our generation quite a bit. You saw people buying houses with no intent to actually live in those houses. They were just hoping to sell it to the next guy. I think that you see a lot of that, and that has to go away, and that the excitement has to be about the community itself. I've kind of compared it to this idea of buying into a lot of these NFTs. It's like, all right, you buy into this country club, and then once you get inside this country club, instead of talking about, the great pool and like all of the things that we want to add to this country club to make this country club awesome, we're just talking about the next country club that we're going to go to. And so I think that what has to happen is people have to get much more excited about the country club that they're in, rather than being excited about the next one to go to.
That's like a life lesson right there. That's just, even outside of this whole space, that's a good life lesson.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Peter Davis, actually, he's one of the co-founders of Getaway. He actually wrote a book on this specific topic called Committed. And he has this famous commencement speech from, he was the valedictorian of his Harvard law class. He basically has this idea of us being in this infinite browsing mode and, just kind of settle in and commit, right? So I think that, yes, NFTs need more of that, right? But, we're starting to see that. And I think that, frankly, that brands play a big role in that, where people are buying this because of their affinity to the brand. They're not just kind of ogling the price all day. They're excited about what they're going to get. I think the other thing with what you said, I think you're actually totally spot on, where there's problems that we solve well as a group, and there's problems that require basically concentrated accountability. When it comes to kind of like making a decision about what we want or what we think is right, democracy is obviously a pretty great system, I would say. But I think that, yeah, when it comes to actually executing on something, delivering on it, doing that hard and painstaking work, you're a CEO too, right? When it comes to going through, say, all of the minutia of legal headaches and HR setup and stuff like that, it takes concentrated accountability and commitment to get through that stuff for kind of a greater cause, right? And I think that for DAOs, a model that I think will work well is something like what Taika has done, where the community is deciding what gets built, right? And like that decision is getting made as a group. But Taika is obviously on the hook for actually delivering that and, calling up the manufacturers and dealing with the supply chain issues, right? I think if you diversify the ownership of those thorny and not so fun problems, who's going to clear that land in Montana? Then I think that doesn't really work out as well. Making decisions together works well, and DAOs are probably a great model for that. When it comes to actual execution, I think that kind of has to be concentrated. That said, my co-founders actually, I think, might disagree with me on some of these points.
That's okay.
Speaking, not novel
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah.
Hey, that's what this whole space is about right now. Lots of people agreeing and disagreeing on everything. So that's what's also fun about this world. Hey, thanks for watching. This segment was made possible by our friends at Salesforce Commerce Cloud. If you're looking for the #1 platform for all your commerce needs, go check out salesforce.com/commerce. And don't forget to subscribe below and tap that little bell icon so you can stay on top of all the amazing new segments and full episodes that we'll be putting out over the coming year with some of the best and most influential commerce leaders out there.